Yeah, you know what though? This could be the wrong move at the same time.
It could
You know why? You know why? And there's a reason I said this, and it was because I think it might even be the right move for this year, right, to keep them. But here's what I think is going to happen. There's like a 90% chance we're going to suck next year. And if that happens, this fan base, they're going to look right back and say, oh, you should have fired Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll before you let him draft a QB. Now you got to fire them, and you got to restart with this quarterback, you got a new coaching GM, and you're Daniel Jones all over again. Oh, it's another 6 years of misery.
Was this the right move for the Giants to keep Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen? Listen to the rest, and you'll find out. Welcome to The Pocket. I am your host, Scooter, and here for you guys today, I have my Black Monday reaction for the Giants and the John Mara decision on Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. And also, we have a special guest. This is our special guest, Big A, longtime Giants fan. I went to high school with this guy. We played some football together.
Yep.
He also went on to pursue his passion in college as an offensive lineman, offensive tackle, I believe.
Shout out Western Connecticut.
That's right. And we played actually on the line together and shared some time in the trenches.
Yes, sir.
So not only that, but Big A here has been a great friend of mine for such a long time. I've enjoyed countless hours talking about football. Like I said, playing football with him. And I could think of no one else that I would rather have on the show as a Giants fan.
Scooter, it is my absolute privilege and honor to be here on The Pocket. I am super excited to talk about what was probably one of the worst Giants seasons I have ever watched. So it's definitely an honor to be here, and I'm so happy to be here.
All right, you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right, so you guys know it is Black Monday, and there was a lot of news swirling about Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen and whether or not John Mara was going to decide to fire them or not. So you guys know my take. I kind of leaned towards restarting, but I was sort of okay with the idea of keeping them, and that is what John Mara essentially decided to do. He did not fire either one of them. So Big A, tell us what you think about this and why you think John Mara did this.
So my take on this is that I think John Mara has a vision for a rookie quarterback to come in and eventually be crafted or shaped by the QB guru known as Brian Daboll. Everybody's known this, especially with the resurgence of MVP frontrunner Josh Allen.
Yep. So rough start to his career, too.
Rough stuff, yeah, definitely. But, now he's, again, the frontrunner for the MVP. So I think why Mara kept both Schoen and Daboll is because of the possibility of a new QB coming in, especially a rookie quarterback, and can be shaped to the franchise quarterback that John Mara wants.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with at least if he was going to make one of four decisions, fire them both, keep them both, or fire one of either of them. This was the second leading option for me. Like I said, I leaned a little bit more towards wanting to restart, but I did say because of what Big A said about, Daboll's ability to develop a quarterback, his track record with that is pretty good. Not with just Josh Allen, but if we all believe Daniel Jones isn't great, then he got the most out of him. So we're going to ask the question in this video, was this the right move for the Giants to keep Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen? Listen to the rest and you'll find out. Now that we're on the topic of Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, let's talk about the players that they brought in throughout their regime, and specifically starting off with their rookie class, which was actually very, very good this year. And I know Big A here has got quite a bit to say about them. So where do you want to start, the offense or the defense?
Let's start with the defense because the defense is actually really special rookie-wise. Let's first go with Drew Phillips out of Kentucky. Here's some stats. I had them on my phone. I don't know in my heart. We got 86 total tackles, 1 sack, 9 TFL, 1 interception, 1 pass deflection. You guys know throughout the year, there were weeks where he was a top-rated rookie. And if you guys ever watched him, I agree. He was a great nickel corner. Anybody in the slot wasn't really getting that much work. And I think he's a very good third-round pick.
Yes, he was a third-round pick. We got the next guy.
The next guy I want to talk about. Guy out of Minnesota, safety, Tyler Nubin. Here's some stats for him. 98 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 1 pass deflection. He is almost like a New York Jet Jamal Adams in a sense of he's great at tackling. He's good on the blitz. He's not that great in coverage. But, of course, that is something through the offseason, during preseason, they could probably work on. I definitely think those two defensive rookies are definitely going to be some great players later on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, for a rookie season from the two of them, you just kind of combine it. I'd say moving forward with those two, I feel really good about it. As far as the tackling in the backfield, the TFLs, the blitzing, they were both beasts when it came to that. With the coverage, I wouldn't say they necessarily let up like a lot of huge plays, but they never got like interceptions either.
Right.
And it seemed like, they were always just allowing a yard of separation and getting the tackle, which maybe that was the scheme. But, I agree. I think they're, great rookie seasons for these two guys and your second and third round picks that are important. Then we got Musau, who's in the 6th round. And, he wasn't as impactful. Obviously, he didn't start or anything, but when he rotated in there, he wasn't bad, and he didn't seem like a liability either. So for a 6th round pick, I suppose that's not bad either.
Yeah, but if we get into the offensive rookies, let's address the elephant in the room. Malik Neighbors, coming out of LSU, wide receiver, in my opinion, is as advertised. He is our wide receiver 1, probably the first one since Odell Beckham Jr. I'm super excited, and hopefully we can get him a quarterback that can throw to him. Another rookie I really want to talk about besides Malik is Purdue running back Tyrone Tracy Jr. Now, this year, he had over 1,000 scrimmage yards, which also means he also started week 5, ladies and gentlemen. 1,000 scrimmage yards, week 5, 12 games. He had more scrimmage yards than Rashad White out of Tampa, J.K. Dobbins out of L.A., and Ramondre Stevenson out of New England. This guy is super electric. I love what they do in the pass game with the screens. I love how he runs hard, almost kind of like an Isaiah Pacheco. I am super excited to see what these guys do with him in the future.
And then one more guy, right? Theo Johnson. Let's give some love to the big guys.
Theo Johnson. Let me tell you about Theo Johnson. After that Dallas game, Thanksgiving, there was a comment I saw under a post about him, and it pretty much went, it's about time the Giants had a tight end who isn't afraid to drink breakfast through a straw. He is super physical. He is not afraid to lay down somebody, put that shoulder down, get a few extra yards after the catch, or even maybe break a tackle. I am super excited to see what he does. It does suck that he got injured throughout the season, and now he's, he wasn't playing. He was on the IR, but maybe it was more of like a, let's keep him away.
Yeah.
This season's ruined. Let's maybe hold up on him, and maybe next year he can be like a top 5 tight end. I don't know.
Yeah, if we were going for the playoffs, then maybe there was a chance he could have made it through. It was kind of a weird injury. I to be honest, don't remember what it was, but Neighbors obviously has advertised he's such a beast. He really finished the season strong, as it seemed like, everyone could have given up, but no, he kept going. He's a real competitor. So I love, and he's not dramatic or anything. So I love everything he brings to the team. So grateful we have him. Tracy honestly reminds me of another late round running back, Kamara. I believe he was selected in the 3rd or 4th round, and definitely better than Tracy, but the receiving skills that he has, the elusiveness. And I would say the one difference is it seems like Kamara tends to have a little more patience when he runs. But Tracy, I like that sometimes, that he just hits the hole hard, because he's broken some long touchdown runs. So he's looked great. Theo Johnson. It was the Thanksgiving game, right? Against the Cowboys. Yeah. There was like 3 drives in a row in the second half. He kept catching short passes, and whoever was coming up to tackle him, he would just lower his shoulder and get at least 3 and fall forward, or he would actually run them over. It was crazy. And honestly, that was some of the most excitement I felt the whole year, besides watching Theo Johnson or Tracy make some big plays, because, the rookies, they were good, but they didn't make as many like exciting plays, the defense as a whole. So let's talk about the whole regime, the whole 3 years. I said earlier how we're this far in and we're still starting rookies. What's going on, right? Maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3, but I don't even know how many we're starting this year. It's got to be close to like 6, 7 or something like that.
Well, I think, Scooter, that the problem is injury. Now, if we want to take about maybe the best example, Kayvon Thibodeau. A lot of people are calling him a bust. But is it actually he might be injury prone?
Yeah.
Now, I know this season he missed about like 3 or 4.
No, it was a couple weeks.
That's what I was saying.
Because they were hesitant to bring him back with how bad the season was going. I think they said 3 or 4 at first.
Right.
And it ended up being like 5 or 6.
Right. And then we also could talk about Andrew Thomas, another injury
God.
He eventually couldn't play the rest of the season.
2 years in a row with him. That he had the hamstring, and then this year with the Liz Frank.
The Liz Frank, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get into that more later, but the impact he has on the offensive line is crazy. But these draft picks by Joe Schoen earlier in the regime, Kayvon and Neal, whether Kayvon's injury prone or not, he definitely has disappointed to some degree. When he's out there, he's not too bad, but considering the injuries and the noise he makes, to be honest, I don't think he's worth the amount Burns is.
Yeah.
And I honestly, if we could keep Aziz at a cheaper cost, I would be totally okay with that. As far as Evan Neal goes, I can't believe he's honestly still on the team. When we weren't giving him a shot when AT went down, I was shocked. What do you think about Evan Neal?
All I have to say to Evan Neal, I'll get close to the camera for this. Evan Neal, you are a patty flipper. Now, if we don't want to talk about disappointments like Evan Neal, let's talk about linebacker Micah McFadden.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he led the team in tackles this year.
That's right. Bobby missed some games.
Bobby did miss some games, but Micah McFadden, another diamond in the rough.
It was like a 5th-round pick, I think.
Yeah, I don't even know where did he go to college?
I have no idea. Maybe probably like Wisconsin or something.
He is definitely somebody I want on the team for a long time.
Yes, I agree. Because, I think a guy like him you could keep for an affordable price.
Yeah.
He's not quite Bobby Okereke in some ways, but to be honest, he always flies. He's always all over the ball.
All on the ball.
Forcing fumbles, always landing on him.
I'm
and
super excited to see if they keep him.
Tip drill, he's always made a couple of those over the years. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of people seem to, they dumb down or kind of downplay Micah McFadden. But I also appreciate Micah McFadden. Now, another draft pick, and to be honest, this entire offensive line, let's just talk about it as a whole. There's one player on this offensive line that isn't from this regime. All the rest are starting from this regime, drafted or signed through free agency, and the best one is not from this regime.
Love you.
So that's not great. And also, as we mentioned before, Andrew Thomas, every time he gets injured, the offensive line and the whole team just implodes.
Falls apart.
It just implodes.
Falls apart.
We can't play without Andrew Thomas. If we do, we're a playoff team. But it's crazy how bad the offensive line must be if it can't function without one guy.
Well, if you want to talk about the offensive line, Scooter, let's go through some stats. Now, we have Jermaine Luminor. We signed him over from Arizona, I believe, this offseason, past offseason.
The Raiders.
The Raiders, thank
you.
He
I think he played for the Cardinals.
He was a Cardinal.
Yeah.
Anyway, he had 4 sacks allowed, 9 hits allowed, and 29 pressures, which isn't terrible.
Way better than what
I
we're
was
used to.
actually very excited to sign him, and as he was to be a giant,
he was hype.
All through Twitter or X, he kept posting just how much he loves being blue. So I'm very excited to see if he can maybe keep this up.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about more of the offensive line, center John Michael Schmitz. He had 6 sacks allowed, 5 hits allowed, and 28 pressures. You're going to see throughout these statistics I'm about to read, they're pretty similar to each other.
Yeah.
John Runyon, we got from Green Bay, 2 sacks allowed, 4 hits allowed, 29 pressures. These are not bad statistics, but they could be better.
Right.
If you guys were alive or even watching football, back in 2010, that offensive line was magnificent. Now it's just been not very good.
For like 10 years.
10
Actually,
years.
kind of like since then.
Since
Since the second Super Bowl. I don't even think there's been an exception year where it was like, marginally above average or anything like that. I vaguely hopped onto the Giants fandom somewhere around 2014, 2015. So I wasn't there for the first 4 of those years, but I have been for 10 years a Giants fan. So I've been here for a while, and we have not had a good offensive line. Some of the other guys that Joe Schoen brought in, Van Roten and Runyon, along with Illuminor, they seemed like, they definitely improved the offensive line. So as one of the promises of Joe Schoen as the GM, as bad as it has been, this year and at points throughout the regime, do you think they fulfilled their promise of improving or fixing the offensive line? Yeah.
Kinda. I mean, with a topic we're going to get into a little bit later, it is very apparent that if one player on the offensive line gets hurt, it turns into a mess.
One in specific. Or even if it's one or one of the other guys, you're right. Last year, Andrew Thomas went down, but there was a string of other guys that just started going down. But yeah, it's just we haven't been able to survive the injuries. And I think I know where you're going with this. But yeah, we've definitely, I think, sort of improved it, but it just hasn't.
Come together.
It's not the desired outcome still.
No, it hasn't come together to what I think Shane and Daboll want. I think that all Giants fans want. If you guys really want to talk about it, Daniel Jones didn't really have that much help.
No.
Especially with his offensive line. And why do you think he had so many rushing yards? Because he had to scramble. So it definitely shows that, yay, they kind of fixed it, but they kind of need to add more.
Yeah, so I'd say, as a GM, Daboll's involved in these decisions too, but I guess we're talking mostly about Shane with all these players. I would say if I had to categorize, these 3 years, I would say in totality, the team that we've built is disappointing.
I think,
to say the least.
If you can describe the past 3 years besides that 2021 season,
disappointing, especially when that's the first year and it's only gotten worse each year, when somehow you would think it would only get better. Now, I do have a sort of devil's advocate for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, and now there is something of a reason that this is their fault, but I want to ask this now that all attachment is gone from this guy. We have no more ties to him, and he's been a very key factor, probably the biggest talking point of this regime. Daniel Jones left the Giants this year. He was released via his request after getting benched, and it got me thinking. Over these 3 years, how much of this team as a whole, we know how important quarterback is, right? We're not going to act like, yes, it is a team sport, but we're not going to act like it doesn't affect the whole team. Psychologically, do they believe in him? All those things. How much do you think DJ held back these draft classes and these free agencies?
So my opinion is this. Obviously, Daniel Jones was not the answer. We saw flares. We saw glimpses. But it was nothing.
No.
But, big but, he was not only the problem.
I agree.
There have been many games where you can see the Giants have many problems. If you guys want a great example and you want to see the Giants get utterly humiliated, go back to this season when they played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and we lost 30-7. So many times you can see how this team does not have the right depth. Now, what I mean depth, I mean, God forbid somebody gets hurt. Who's going to fill in? And it's going to be someone that's not good. And we could see that with Dexter Lawrence getting hurt, out for the rest of the season. All of a sudden, the run game, non-existent. We can't hold the run. You want to talk about offensive line. AT gets hurt.
We can't survive.
Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, running for their lives. Tim Boyle, running for their lives. So if you want to really give a good comparison, let's look at the Detroit Lions this year. Now, the Detroit Lions, everybody's pretty much hurt on their defense besides one player. Yeah, 10 players, starters, were injured during this season until at week 17. They're still 15-2, number 1 seed, and just beat Minnesota.
They held them to 9 points. I was worried in my power rankings video that maybe the Lions need to fall to 5 because I was like, their defense seems like a big liability. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, but then you can look at the Giants, who are also very injured, and we fall to 3-13. Now, obviously, Detroit has better players, a better culture, better depth.
Better quarterback, too.
But you can see the comparison on how depth can be important for a team, especially a team that gets injured a lot.
100%. It might take a few weeks like it did for them, but eventually, maybe you get one guy healthy and, lifts everyone up. And I think it's a great point to show the difference between what the problem has been for the Giants, because you're not going to avoid injuries in a football season. It's not going to happen. It really sucks if it happens to one of your best guys, like Andrew Thomas, or, Daniel Jones is not one of our best players, but last year your quarterback getting injured, can't really do anything about that.
Can't.
And it's just like when you lose guys like this, it shows how weak of star power the rest of the roster is. And I mentioned in my playoff videos that when you get to a championship level, it's not like your number 1 wide receiver who's winning you the Super Bowl. It's like the 11th guy on offense and the 11th guy on defense, like your worst guy, But when your worst guy is like average, that's the sign of an awesome team. And we are so far away from that.
Right.
And I think you really illustrate that by saying, look at the Lions. And this is why they're great with all these injuries, and look at us. So I totally see your point, and I do think that DJ was not the only problem.
Right.
I agree, but I sort of also agree that, hey, he definitely was not helping us. I mean, some quarterbacks, they're able to get through situations like this when they're tough, and maybe we didn't do it right for him, and the Commanders did for Jaden Daniels, and Daniels is definitely better than Jones, but hey, what are you going to do? It's over now, right?
It's
He's
over.
He's spoiled milk. Whether we spoiled it or not, he's spoiled milk, and we can't drink it. So we need more milk. We need a new quarterback. That's a legendary quote.
That's
right there.
a great metaphor. Are you Colin Cowherd?
Yes, let's say I'm Colin Cowherd now. But so yeah, that's our answer for Daniel Jones. I mean, that's definitely a big one. But I think overall for this regime, I did want for a long time the Giants to, sort of hold on to Daniel Jones and kind of do what you are saying John Mara wants. Allow Daboll to select the quarterback like they did in Buffalo. So I'm excited for, obviously, this offseason, like many other Giants fans and you, about what we're going to do. I mentioned in my video, though, that I think maybe this isn't the best year for quarterback. I think maybe it might be best to trade back, considering we are at pick 3, which complicates things being that there are 2 top quarterbacks. So what do you think about the Giants' 3rd overall pick, what they should do at quarterback, and all of that stuff for the offseason?
Well, Scooter, watching your video, I noticed you didn't really mention any of the quarterbacks. Now, if you want to talk about quarterbacks, there's this guy out of the University of Miami, Cam Ward.
That's right.
4,313 yards throwing, 39 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 88.7 QBR rating, which was number 1 in college football. Now, my problem is looking at his schedule wasn't the best, but accuracy and the arm on this kid is so... I just want it on my
dynamic.
team. It is so good. You guys, if you guys get a chance, look at some Cam Ward highlights, and you'll be seeing him throw on his 40-yard line to the end zone like it's nothing. I want him. If he's there on the board, he needs to be a New York Giant.
So I was certainly on the Cam Ward. I have a whole video and live stream dedicated to the Panthers game when we were sort of battling for the number 1 overall pick. I do know more about Cam Ward than Shedeur Sanders. I will be honest. I've watched more of his highlights, but it is because of what Big A is saying, is that he is the more exciting prospect. He has not played the schedule, but you know what? His arm, right? The athleticism, the big playability, the ability to improvise and scramble is really what excites me the most about Cam Ward, because that's what it's felt like we haven't had for honestly forever, because Eli couldn't move when I was watching, and for a long time he couldn't move. And Daniel Jones, although he was fast when he started running, he didn't have pocket awareness and he wasn't quick. But Cam Ward, he really reminds me of like Steve McNair. Like, he's not like a towering quarterback, but he's stocky, almost like a Jalen Hurts, but more probably a better arm than Jalen Hurts, I would say.
I gave him more of a Russell Wilson ceiling, like when he was in Seattle. Great improviser, great accuracy, great arm strength. If this guy can be built by a quarterback guru, it's got to be Daboll, and I think he could be a franchise quarterback. But here's the problem. Will he be there for number 3?
At 3, that's a great question, and we will get into that after we talk about the next guy. But there is one sneaky question I want to ask the audience about Cam Ward, because Big A here said he didn't play a great schedule. And I just want to ask you guys, did Josh Allen play any SEC schools when he was at Wyoming? I don't think so. I don't think he did. Just saying, just putting that out there, as I think that's an overrated thing to say as to discredit a prospect, because I don't even know how many teams are in college football, but there's so many, and so many of them get to the NFL. It's not all about the conference, because when you're playing on the same level, how you exceed is how you exceed. So I think that's what's most important. But as I mentioned, let's move on from Cam Ward and talk about the other quarterback.
Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. Now, here's some stats about this guy. 4,134 yards throwing, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 75.5 QBR rating. Almost kind of similar to Cam Ward. Now, even though what Scooter just said is what I don't really think, he did have a bit of a tougher schedule. Now, how much of that was Travis Hunter, the maybe first overall pick, depending on what Tennessee wants to
Could
do?
happen.
I like Cam Ward more than Shedeur Sanders.
I also do.
Watching Shedeur Sanders, comparing him to Cam Ward, I can't really say I'm confident in Shedeur Sanders in the NFL where I could see Cam Ward succeeding in an NFL situation.
Yeah, to me, for a young guy, it's about upside.
Correct. Yeah. I definitely think Cam Ward has a lot more upside than Shedeur Sanders besides his dad.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely does have a strong legacy and aura.
Yeah.
I mean, Cam Ward is building an aura just based off the fact that he's the more exciting guy. But, I mean, Shedeur could really, galvanize a team. But you have to ask, do you want your young quarterback to have that much, influence? It's like you kind of do.
Yeah.
But then you kind of don't, because it's like Dion's tied to it. You don't know what's going to happen with that. It's a good question. And actually, what I want to ask about this is, you said, do we know that there isn't going to be a quarterback at 3?
Yeah. Here's the problem. We have Tennessee, whose quarterback is either Will Levis or Mason Rudolph. Ew. And then we have Cleveland, who had Jameis Winston, DTR, and Bailey Zappi. Ew. So there might be a chance both of those teams go quarterback. Now, let's say in an imaginary scenario, Tennessee goes Cam, Cleveland goes Shedeur.
Yep.
What would the Giants do at that point? Now we could talk about some other quarterbacks. We can talk about Ewers, Milroe, Beck, maybe somewhere in the late second round. Now, what I think is very interesting is the national championship. If you guys want to think about last season, J.J. McCarthy's stock wasn't that high until he won the national championship.
That's true.
So maybe out of nowhere, Texas makes a run and Quinn Ewers' draft stock goes incredibly up. Now, at first, I was really high on Quinn Ewers. And then he got injured. Then Archie Manning came in. And then it's definitely interesting to see what will happen in these college playoffs and to see if maybe Quinn Ewers' stock does rise.
You could be foreshadowing and predicting a future major headline story. If yours draft stock is going up, people are going to circle the Giants and say, boom, there's their guy, go draft the quarterback. And it's a potential panic move, though.
If this happens, you guys got to come back to this video and comment. It happened right here.
Yeah, that's right. You heard it here first.
You heard it here
Quinn
first.
Ewers is going to get projected to the Giants. And I personally don't want Ewers, at least at 3. The guys, Ewers, Milroe, and Beck, and there's a couple other guys. I believe Jackson Dart. I've been hearing his name get thrown around. I don't know if he's even eligible this year. I don't know. I haven't gotten into it. But I think late first, early second, depending on whether we trade back, I think the guy I would like best out of this is Milroe. I want the athletic upside. You see what's happening in the NFL now. And I think you see a guy like Jalen Hurts on the Eagles. He's a low commitment second round pick. They brought him in when Wentz was struggling. We don't even have like a struggling starter, but say we sign a bridge quarterback, right? And then you bring in a guy like Milroe. The best part is if they both suck, you can let go of both of them and it really not be too consequential, right? But if it's a first round pick you're letting go of, especially a high one, that feels a lot worse. So I do want to lead into the free agent quarterbacks that we could essentially pair with either one of these, first 2 quarterbacks, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, or yours, Milroe or Carson Beck. So the ones that I highlighted, and I don't think I'm forgetting any real legitimate potential guys, but there's 4. Number 1 on my list is Justin Fields. You guys know I want us to sign him no matter what. I just want Fields on the team. That is my take. And then there's 3 other guys, Winston, Darnold, and Wentz. What do you think about those 4? Would you be interested in having them on the team just to kind of be there for the rookie?
Depending on what Justin Fields could do. Now, we saw what he could do in Pittsburgh when Russell Wilson was out or not starting. He was okay. He was okay in Chicago. I would be all right if he was okay in New York, just
Yeah.
because, again, bridge quarterback. Now, the other three. Jameis Winston. Now, if you want a quarterback who could probably throw 3 touchdowns in a game, you go to Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
But if you also want a quarterback who will have 3 interceptions in the game, you go Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, I'm not sure if he's going to stay in Minnesota. With J.J. McCarthy as the backup, he did get hurt during the season. It's kind of up in the air. I think this is a question they're probably going to want to answer after the playoffs.
They can't keep all 3.
They can't keep all 3 with Sam, J.J. McCarthy, and Daniel Jones.
We should sign Daniel Jones.
Oh, God.
We should sign Daniel Jones.
It's happening again.
But
and then Carson Wentz, you must have threw that in for a
No, it wasn't because he's got like a track record. He almost took the Colts. He almost took the Colts to the playoffs. And honestly, I always really believed in Carson Wentz's talent, but I think he got a little spoiled by the Eagles when they won with his backup, built a statue of his backup, and then chanted his backup's name for the entire season. I think that kind of ruined his confidence.
My problem is when he tore like his
ACL,
and then his playing style kind of went down into the garbage, and then he got moved around and now he's a journeyman.
You could look at it like that, but I'm the narrative guy. I love narratives. And I personally think, honestly, a million guys have torn their ACL. I think maybe only one guy has gone through what Carson Wentz has gone through psychologically as the Eagles quarterback. If I'm not even joking right now. I think that is a crazy thing to go through as a quarterback. And I'm not saying like you could never recover from it, but it would be crazy. But hey, it's like a rental quarterback for 1 year. I'm fine with him. Hey, he got destroyed by the Broncos. But do you think the Chiefs threw that game? I think they kind of threw that game.
They did not want the Bengals in the playoffs.
No, definitely not.
They did not want the Bengals in the playoffs.
They definitely threw that. But hey, so we did kind of talk about we're gonna hit this first. Trade rumors. Kirk Cousins. No. Moving on. Kyler Murray.
Too much. They're gonna be asking for way too much.
Yeah, probably too much. And then J.J. McCarthy, kind of the Sam Darnold thing.
Yeah, but also it would feel like that Joe Schoen would be going back on what he wanted.
Yeah, no, I don't want us to. That looks really bad, actually.
And also, we have no idea what this kid looks like
we don't
in
know.
an NFL game.
You're trading for him for what?
For what? So it would not be a good idea.
Yeah, off of how we scouted him in last year's draft, I guess, but I don't like it. And so this is what I was going to come back to is we mentioned the Browns and the Titans and the potential of Shedeur Sanders being sort of like restricted. What if we see sort of a Eli Manning scenario on draft night where the Browns select Shedeur Sanders and say the Giants select Travis Hunter or just whoever they think is the player Cleveland is going to want. And then Shedeur Sanders and Dion, they get on the phone and they say, I'm not going to Cleveland. I want to go be a Giant. Go trade with them. Or I don't know how those phone calls went down. But honestly, if I haven't seen a draft with this much like personal buzz and drama around a quarterback. And, is he going to have influence? The NIL money and all this stuff nowadays. It's, he could just go back to college if he wanted to, right?
No, he's a senior.
He's a senior?
Yeah.
Okay. But you understand what I'm saying is it's possible, right, for him to pull some of these shenanigans on draft night. Do you think we could get a QB at 3?
So I hope we can get a QB at 3. I'm hoping that the personal buzz about Travis Hunter maybe will either let Tennessee or Cleveland forget about a quarterback. Maybe they'll be one of these free agents will go to Tennessee or Cleveland.
Yeah, maybe they sign Fields and believe in him or something.
Honestly, Justin Fields in Tennessee would be kind of
Fields is not bad. Like I honestly would build. I would build around Justin Fields. I would literally do it.
But I feel that if we want to get, like you said, the top 2 quarterback prospects in either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, Tennessee or Cleveland has to go Travis Hunter, and we will have to see what these teams do during the free agency period.
All right. So I think we covered Black Monday, our initial reaction to Mara keeping Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. We told you whether or not we thought it was the right move. I'm sort of okay with it.
I'm okay with it too, especially with what I feel like they're going to do is try to make a rookie quarterback shaped into what Daboll wants.
Yeah, you know what though? Honestly, this could be the wrong move at the same time.
It could.
You know why? You know why? And there's a reason I said this, and it was because I think it might even be the right move for this year, right, to keep them. But here's what I think is going to happen. There's like a 90% chance we're going to suck next year. And if that happens, this fan base, they're going to look right back and say, "Oh, you should have fired Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll before you let them draft a QB. Now you got to fire them, and you got to restart with this quarterback and give them a new coach and GM, and you're going to Daniel Jones them all over again, and it's another 6 years of misery." That's what could happen with us keeping them. That is the potential consequence. So when John Mara decided to keep them, thinking it was a conservative and safe move, not so much. All right. I just want to get that out there. But like I said, we covered that reaction. We covered the draft classes and free agents that these teams have brought in. Brian Burns, we forgot to mention, that was one of the good things they did. But one good thing they did. And then we covered the quarterback situation this offseason and this year's draft pick. And we got most of your take on almost all of it. So how did you enjoy coming onto the pocket today?
I enjoyed the pocket so much that maybe I'll come back.
Maybe you'll even come back? Was I a good host?
You're okay.
I'm okay. All right, I'll take that. Hey, it's a learning process.
I appreciate everything, Scooter, and hopefully I get to see everyone back again soon.
Hey, you. Yeah, that's right, you. Don't forget to leave a like on the video.
Make sure you leave a comment. Tell us why we're wrong.
And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys all so much for watching, seeing my interview with Big A, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.